Easy guys, Dom here from Cringy Dad Gaming. So today, the 6th of May 2021, a new DLC has dropped for Arma 3, and this is called the SOG Prairie Fire. This is based on operations in the Vietnam War. And I managed to play one of the single player campaigns solo. There is quite a few single player missions to play, and they've all got their own kind of theme and story. The first one is a covert operation where you've got to do a sabotage mission behind enemy lines, and I have to say that if you're playing this solo like I did, it is extremely difficult. So you can, find a game and play with other people, which is what I would probably suggest. The DLC does have multiplayer, which I haven't had a chance to look at yet, but I just thought I'd show you a little bit of the gameplay from the solo single player mission that I played and just kind of give you my thoughts on it at this point. So for a game that's been out as long as Arma 3 has, it doesn't actually look too bad. You really do get that feeling of being in the jungles of Vietnam. Now, from what I can see, you've got pretty much a lot of the authentic weapons and gear that they were using in this conflict in Vietnam, including the Viet Cong, who are kitted out with the sort of rifles and equipment that they would have at the time. And some of the weaponry they're using is Russian-based weaponry, so you'll come across that and you can use it as well. You can pick it up off the dead Viet Cong if you manage to kill them, and looting the bodies gives you a chance to try out all these different types of weapons, not just the American weaponry but also some of the Russian gear that they would be using, like the Mosins, SVTs and the PPSHs and stuff like that. I have to say the AI is actually pretty good. With the challenge of coming up against the Viet Cong, and these guys are pretty savage. You got to keep an eye out for things like treehouse, sniper hides, and various different patrols. These guys can hide quite well. Some of them will have like leaf camo. They're kind of like improvised ghillie suits they made themselves, and sometimes they can be quite hard to spot. Now, this first mission I kind of felt was more based on stealth anyway. I guess you can go in guns blazing if you want, but if, like me, you're playing this solo, you're going to want to take it extremely slow and steady.
If there's negative enemy, give Covey a team OK so he can release the air assets from standby.
Covey, Spike Team Columbia. All clear.
Columbia, this is Covey. Roger. Good hunting. Out.
The thing I liked about this first mission is once you get to a certain stage in it and you get to the first point of the objective, you're being tracked by the Viet Cong. And in order to try and slow them down, you need to set booby traps. So you're going to be putting things like claymores and other mines down as you progress through the area to just, stop them from catching up with you, really. Because if you get caught up by these guys, they can swarm you in quite large groups.
Tracker! His signal shots mean the NVA is on your ass. Plant some toe poppers and evade. Dogleg back and forth to throw them off.
This mission sees you having to get to a point where you have to drop down the box of booby-trapped ammunition at a supply truck and then extract.
Sentries. Avoid contact. The mission will become a lot harder, and you'll have to fight for your lives.
Getting to that point wasn't necessarily that hard, even though I did get in a couple of skirmishes halfway through the mission. I managed to avoid most of the Viet Cong for the first part of this mission, but once you put down this booby trap box at the supply truck, you are pretty much being chased a very long distance to the extraction zone, and this is where it gets really, really hard at that stage in the game. And I would say it is quite challenging playing it solo, but it was a thoroughly enjoyable mission for the first mission, which makes me excited to play the others in the list. Come across some quite interesting locations, like a wreck of a down plane, and there's these little kind of like hide areas that the Viet Cong had created to keep them camouflaged. They sometimes hide in them and it's hard for you to spot them from a distance, so I did kind of like that. So the element of stealth and having to really have your wits about you was a real part of this mission. And from my overall experience of the first mission of this DLC, it's really, really good. I mean, some of you might not be interested in the single player, you might be interested in the multiplayer, but for me, I'm going to play these missions through with a group because I think it's going to be a little bit easier and a little bit more enjoyable to do it as a group. And I'll probably make a few videos and upload some gameplay of some of the group gameplay, but I just thought I'd show you a little bit of this first single player mission just so you can kind of gauge a little bit about how it looks and what the gameplay's like. The AI are pretty good, they're quite brutal, and as I've said, they will track you and follow you, so I guess in there kind of following your footsteps and tracking you that way, because if you put a mine down and then move on, at certain points you'll hear them triggering the mine where they've followed your footsteps and then triggered the mine, which I also thought was quite cool, and I did like that. But the overall feel of being in the jungle in Vietnam was, yeah, it was really good, and the overall design of the map seems quite good so far. There's a few points where I got stuck on a little bit of the geometry. There's some trees or small bushes that you can't seem to be able to walk through, but that was the only thing that I come across that was a little bit annoying, and apart from that, everything else worked how it should. So my overall feelings on this DLC so far is I think it's shaping up to be a pretty cool DLC. I think Vietnam is an interesting setting, and the Viet Cong were a fierce fighting force of guerrillas, and I feel that the challenge is there. It does really make you feel like you are fighting against the very fierce Viet Cong. The map is absolutely huge and does cover a lot of the areas in Vietnam that this conflict took place in, so I think it's a pretty good recreation. When you look at the map itself, there's a lot to do, and these missions that you're going to play are spread across this map in different locations. So if you're interested in this DLC, I'd highly recommend picking it up, especially if you're into Arma 3. If you're into tactical shooters in general, then this is a pretty good one. It's held up quite well for its age, I think, and yeah, there is a little bit of a learning curve with the game if you're new to it, figuring out all the keybinds and stuff. Some of them I don't still know to this day because it can be quite complex, but I think the more you play it, the easier you'll find it, and you'll pick it up quite well. So if you'd like to see more content from me on the channel for Arma 3 or any other game, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Subscribing really does help. It doesn't cost you anything, it's free. It helps the channel grow and also helps YouTube recommend similar videos that you may like to watch with its algorithm. So I'll catch you guys on another video, and thanks for watching.